shark
When
incident.
we were there was no swimming anywhere on the island.
Wow. Not allowed.
All the beaches were closed. And apparently they have the highest uh, death rate by shark attack per inhabitant. So
Wow.
it's not as big a country as some other countries in the world,
Mm.
but on a per capita basis, they had the highest death rate from shark attacks.
Wow.
Hence the reason they had shut all the beaches. So they did not allow swimming. There was no surfing, and that's just the way it was going to be for a while.
Wow.
And there are some other islands where it's known, you shouldn't get in the water. One would
Yeah.
be Ascension Island in the mid South Atlantic.
Wow.
That's also
Ascension
known
Island.
as being
Mm.
a dangerous place for sharks. And for the rare cruiser who goes there, it's recommended you not get in the water.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what is amazes me, right? You have these certain islands where there are a lot of shark attacks and stuff like that. Yet still, I remember we discussed somewhere that people go swimming together with the sharks. Remember that you told me you did it? Where was
Right.
this place?
It was in French Polynesia
French
in the
Polynesia.
Tumo Alt, yeah, in the Tumo Altos
Tuma Alto. Okay.
archipelago.
Mm.
So that is east of Tahiti, about 400 miles. And the atoll was Fakarava. And the south entrance of Fakarava is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow.
And it's estimated there are 1,100 sharks. Every time there's an incoming tide, they line up near the entrance for lunch.
Wow.
And there's actually a small camp right by the inlet there where catering to people who snorkel or dive on the incoming tide. And they've never had an issue with sharks attacking people.
So the sharks in the other places are just more angry than those sharks.
Well, I think maybe it's just that there's so much food that is plentiful in
Mhm.
Fakarava
They don't care for.
that they've never even considered a human as a potential prey
Mm.
because there's a big fat grouper coming in or whoever's coming in on the
Yeah.
tide. Um, for the most part, sharks, I've encountered a number of sharks snorkeling, and
Mm.
usually they swim away.
Wow.
I've encountered 10-foot white tip sharks, uh, many black tip sharks.
Wow.
And typically they really don't want anything to do with people.
Mm.
Um, on the other hand, we know one person who was attacked by a shark.
Really?
He was doing something somewhat crazy. Uh, he was night diving.
Night diving?
He was a New Zealander, by the way.
Wow.
He was in he was a retired commercial fisherman,
Mm.
and he was one of the world's best shell collectors.
Wow.
And he collects shells that like only come out at night.
Shells that come out at night?
Right. The organisms only they hide under rocks during the day, and then every shell had a living organism in it at
In
one
it,
time.
yeah. Right.
And the type he specialized in, they would come out at night. So he was in Beveridge Reef, which
Mm.
is 450 miles from any land.
Woo.
So it's just a little circular reef.
Right.
He was night diving by himself,
No way.
doing a decompression dive. So he had to hang a tank off of his dinghy about 50 feet down.
Huh.
And then he dove down even further. And then he was going to use that tank suspended from his dinghy to breathe through and spend some time to outgas the nitrogen gas so he didn't get the bends.
50 feet down and he's going lower than that?
Oh, yes. And in that, while he was on the bottom of Beveridge Reef, a gray shark spotted him, and he saw the shark. And as he describes it, he pulled out his dive knife,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought, "Oh, small shark, big knife." But then the shark got closer, and he realized, big shark,
Small knife.
small knife. And the shark bit him twice.
Wow.
Once across the abdomen,
Mm-hmm.
and once in the buttocks. And he made it to the surface, got in his dinghy, and was able to get back to his sailboat.
Mm.
And his girlfriend was on the boat, but she really wasn't a sailor.
Mm.
She was inexperienced, and
Wow.
they were able to get him on his boat, but then they had to go 450 miles until they found land
While it's bleeding.
while he's bleeding.
My
So
goodness.
that took about over 2 days, 2 to 3
What?
days. And then he ended up in Niue, the country of Niue, which is a small island. It's only 30 miles long. It's about 10 miles wide. And there happened to be one doctor on the island, and he spent the whole night sewing Alan up.
Wow.
And luckily, Alan was a little bit overweight, so the teeth of the
He had enough meat.
sharks,
He had enough meat.
yes, did not penetrate into his intestines.
Wow.
So it just went into the fat tissue. So he did not get septic. He did have his buttocks was essentially torn off on one side from the second bite. And they were able to kind of patch that up. And he survived.
He lived to tell he lived to tell the tale.
Right, right.
Wow.